We got a really cool program today, John. I'm pretty excited about some of the segments we got coming up. One of them is the Overdue app. If you go out on hikes, especially multi-day hikes up into the backcountry, we're based here in Vancouver, and even people locally go up to local mountains and get lost, and we don't know about it for days, and sometimes that ends in tragic results. This app will help hopefully alleviate some of those and give people peace of mind. We'll be talking with one of the creators out of Vancouver here. Well, you're back with the program. Mike and John here. Let's talk about safety, especially when you're out and about hiking or planning a trip. We're going to talk with the folks over at Overdue. We've got Steve Chapman on the line. Thanks for joining us, Steve.
Yeah, good morning.
Well, here in British Columbia, especially in Vancouver, we are constantly hearing stories about people getting lost in the backcountry. And it's pretty easy to get in the backcountry here in Vancouver. Basically, just go up one of the local mountains and get lost.
You can take a bus there.
Yeah. And it just happens again and again. You've got an app that potentially will help reduce some of that, or provide more safety and peace of mind for people planning these trips.
Yeah, that's correct. So what Overdue does, it essentially makes it easy for search and rescue to access a trip plan that someone's made. So what happens is a user opens up the app, they set up a profile, they'll set up a bunch of emergency contacts, and then they're ready to go. So every time they go out, they'll go through, which is a 6-stage step, which they'll put in their route, they'll put in their what they're planning to do, what their activity, what time they're planning to be back, and who's with them. And the app also helps them choose the equipment that they're meant to carry with them. So the 10 essentials, but more than that, because every activity and every season demands a little bit more than the 10 essentials.
I like this. Again, like I was saying earlier, there's just so many times you read these stories, and an app like this in its simplicity would really alleviate a lot of these issues that some of these lost people get themselves into. I like some of the you've got offline maps built into this as well.
Yeah, so exactly. When we were building the app initially, we thought it was important that the users could actually record where they're going, dot by dot, their planned route. So we had to integrate maps for that, and then that function built right out. So my other job is a cartographer, so I do local maps, and we incorporated those and other maps. So not only can the user plan where they're going, they can actually use the map while they're on the trail to help guide them. We always say in search and rescue that you should always carry a paper map, but something on an app is always good to pinpoint where you are if you've lost your way a little bit.
I guess my next question, Steve, this is something I would definitely want to use, but the people that typically are getting lost up there, do you think they'll actually be smart enough to actually load this app up and use it? They're usually the careless ones, I think.
Well, I mean, that's what we're hoping.
Yeah.
With Coquitlam Search and Rescue, I'm the lead on the community education. So that is a message we're always trying to push out there, the importance of making a trip plan. So sure, there's some people who aren't doing that at the moment, but it's our mission not only to get the app into the hands of people and use it, but actually educate people into doing this process. And the app makes it easy to do that, because there's no onerous writing something down on a piece of paper and giving it to someone, or just texting something very briefly. It guides you through that whole process. So really, there's no excuse for not having that trip plan. It's super important to have a trip plan, because if you do go missing, and it's happened numerous occasions, then if search and rescue don't know where to start, then all bets are off in terms of being able to find that person. And we have had a number of tragic cases where people haven't been found.
Steve, how long does it take to actually fill out your route plan and sort of get the app up and running and configured? Just so people understand, like, spending a few minutes or however long you're going to tell me in a second can make or break and potentially even save your life.
Exactly, yeah. So we've made the process super simple. So the process of actually doing your profile, maybe 5 or 10 minutes, that's a one-off process. The same with the contacts. We sort of force the users to send a text to their contacts initially so that when that emergency text comes, then they know what overdue is and they trust it. So once all that's done, the 6-stage process is potentially very simple. I've done a trip plan in less than 30 seconds. If you put more detail in, obviously, then that can take longer if you're doing a multi-day trip or something like that. But it is a very quick and simple process. For instance, you could just write in there, I'm doing the grouse grind back at 8 p.m. I'm with my wife and dog and got the 10 essentials, and then that's good enough for some trips.
I think it's great that you have the 10 essentials there too, because a lot of people go even on what they think is just going to be a simple afternoon hike, and then, they sprain their ankle or do something that forces them to stay out longer than they expected. So basically always plan to have those things with you, regardless of the length of the trip you're going on.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've had cases where people have just gone out for a simple dog walk and they've been out for 3 nights and it's been touch and go because things can happen. You can slip on a log, you can hit your head, your phone can actually die. A lot of people rely on their phones, but phones can, the batteries can fail. If they get wet, they fail. If you drop them, they fail.
If a bear eats it, it fails.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, there's 101 things that can happen. So our system registers the trip plan with the server. So your own personal phone is totally out of the equation once that's been registered.
So if I make a trip plan, like for example, I'm going up Grouse Mountain here in Vancouver, and I say I'm going to be back at 7 p.m. So what kind of things are triggered if I don't show up?
Yeah, so initially, some people are forgetful, so our server will actually give you 4 reminders just before the point you're going to be overdue. So 2 phone calls and 2 SMS messages, and they will give you the opportunity to either check in or require assistance straight away, or you can request more time if you're running late. If you don't respond to any of those and you're out of contact and you are overdue, then what will happen is your primary contact will be sent a message to say, hey, your friend is overdue. Here's their trip plan. So there's a link to the overdue trip plan. They will then look into it. Maybe from the tracking, they'll see that you've driven home and you're okay. If things aren't looking good, they would then contact 911 emergency services, and then that trip plan would eventually get into search and rescue hands. If that primary contact doesn't answer or can't respond, then we have up to 6 secondary contacts as well. So after another predetermined time, those secondary contacts will be contacted with the same kind of process. So it's like a primary and a backup cavalry, which will come to the aid of that person.
I think it's also important to mention that your backup or your contact people, they don't have to even install the app. They're going to get a text message and a link to a web page that will have that trip plan, correct?
That's exactly, yeah. So they will get a link. The user can select whether the contact gets an SMS, an email, or both. So we've got both of those avenues covered. So it's easy for those emergency contacts. They don't have to do anything at all.
So John, when you do your trip plan and you don't come back from the Taillight Craft Brewery by 10 p.m., I can send out the dogs.
That's right.
We're talking with Steve Chapman. He's one of the people behind the Overdue app, a great Canadian-made app that is a trip planner that will alert your friends and family if you're overdue on a trip that you've made. How much does this cost, Steve?
So it's a subscription plan. So the price is $29.99 per year. And anyone wanting to install it, they'll get a free month to try out all the features, including the maps.
Small price to pay for some peace of mind, and highly recommended for all those people that go hiking up in the local mountains or Whistler, and a great way to keep track of things. Steve, thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you, Mike and John. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and stay safe out there on the trails.
We will. Again, talking about the Overdue app, available at the Apple App Store and on Google Play as well. So for both iPhone and Android phones. When we come back, more tech to talk.